Hey there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. I'm your host, Patsun, and today we're going to be taking a look at r/relationship advice, where for some reason, OP is afraid to lose his marriage with a cheater. Let's begin. I'm having doubts if my daughter is biologically mine, and I don't know if I should do a paternity test and risk the marriage. Wow, just wow, what a donut. Anyways, let's listen to it.
I'm new to Reddit, but I'm currently in a tough place and need an outside perspective. Me and my wife of 3 years have a baby girl, she's 2. They're my world, and honestly I've been beating myself up even having these thoughts, but recently I've doubted if she's really my biological daughter. We have similarities, but there are certain things that have me second guessing. My wife and I both have green eyes, I'm mixed, and she's Italian and American. My baby has brown eyes. I know it's possible for two green-eyed parents to have a brown-eyed baby, but I've read it's rare. A few years back I had to travel for work and I had my suspicions of my wife cheating, but the thought alone brought me to tears. I discussed it with her and she assured me she was loyal to me. She has cheated in her previous relationship, but I didn't want to judge based on that because she was in high school. And we've all done dumb shit we regret as kids. I have discussed my concerns with her, and to say I caused an argument would be an understatement. She got extremely upset and asked me how I could insinuate that she would ever cheat on me or that my baby isn't mine. I've spoken to her in the past about my doubts and she told me she would never cheat. I brought it up again and said I had my doubts, but I'll drop it, and apologized. She got very defensive and started crying, saying, "I guess you want a paternity test since you don't believe me." I said no, but after speaking with my family about it, I think I may want one just to clear my mind. If she's mine, I'll hate myself for ever being doubtful, but if she's not, I still haven't thought about the consequences that can bring. She is my daughter and I love her no matter what, but what will that do to my marriage? This has caused me so much internal conflict, and I've spent nights crying thinking I could be making the biggest mistake of my life. If anyone has any advice or has been in a similar situation from mine or my wife's perspective, it would be greatly appreciated. Now for OP's update. I don't know if this is the right way to make an update post. I did make an edit on my original post as well. I wasn't expecting to make this update, especially the day after. This conversation with my wife isn't new, but from the point where I made the comments, she's been very cold and threatening our marriage, saying I better not get the test done behind her back, and she also would not allow it to happen at all. I read comments from a lot of women saying they'd be pissed too either way if the test positive or negative from mistrust, so I thought that was the case. We did have a long conversation this morning. She looked through my phone last night and found the post. That's what sparked the conversation again. She said she was hurt I would keep bringing this up and I should trust her and leave my insecurities behind. It was long conversation, a lot of tears and words were said. I offered marriage counseling and dropped the topic of the DNA test. She refused and said it's ridiculous and doesn't want to involve anyone else in our marriage. I read a lot of comments and stories saying sometimes the guilt will get to them and they'll just confess without needing to do a test. I didn't think that would happen in my case, but it did. She told me that she didn't want this to happen, but she did cheat on me and my daughter is not mine. She said she wanted me to be the father and loved me and thought this would be her best option. She didn't want me to take a test and find out on my own, which I wish she would have come clean way before. I didn't know how to respond but asked who the father was because my mind already is making a million assumptions. She didn't tell me and began crying more, telling me to not hate her and not end the marriage. I didn't say anything again, waiting for an answer. This happened early this morning and I didn't an answer until this afternoon. I had to leave for work this morning, so when I came back she had calmed down a bit and was ready to tell me. Her answer was probably the last thing I was expecting. She cried while saying this, but said a few years back when I went on a business trip, she slept with my father, who she ran into on a drunk night. I don't believe it. My father passed away in December from a colon cancer when he was 45. He did meet my daughter, half-sister, his daughter I don't know, but never said anything clearly. She said they both decided it was a dumb mistake, a major understatement, and it'd be best to erase it and play me as being the father. Me and my father never had the best relationship. I grew up with my single mom, but he was present in my life, and when he passed it hurt my family a lot. So hearing this broke me. I am currently staying with my brother. I haven't spoken about what I've learned with anyone, even him. I don't think I've fully processed, so coming here to write this felt like a good place to get my thoughts out. I didn't say anything after she told me that and just left after she finished explaining. I don't know where I even go from here. I don't want to abandon my child while she's technically my half-sister, but do need time to process this. I don't think any amount of marriage therapy will fix this, so divorce is my next step. I am going to seek a therapist for myself and help myself so I can be there for my daughter.
Why did I instantly think of the brother you're staying with? Oh man, reading all of these stories really fucked up my brain. But anyways, OP, if that is the case, that's extremely messed up because if the test shows that you had only 25% DNA in common with your wife's daughter, that would be the result of either your father or your brother was the child's actual father. Man, that's gonna be one hell of a shit show, I guarantee ya. Anyways, OP, I'd say just get the test done anyway for all of you to know. She might just be pinning it on your father because you can't do anything about it and she wants to protect the real father. Also, start talking to a lawyer just to see what your options are. It's better to start now rather than later. And now for today's second story. My former manager made my life hell and I finally got her fired. Posted by Reddit user Traveling ABC.
I was desperate to join a new job after my husband and I were both laid off last year. When I was offered a new role, I knew it would be a step down from what I was doing, but the manager and the team seemed great, and that part has not changed. However, since my manager Gary was so busy, he basically offloaded me to another manager, Jane. I was supposed to be the connection point between my team and Jane, but it quickly became Jane micromanaging me. She would ask me to work through lunch, move, cancel vacation days, call at 11 p.m. on weekends, and order me around on phone calls. She also made nasty comments about my weight and said I was big for my race. The list of personal slights so long that it filled 3 pages. I would talk back to her and she did not like that, and that provoked her more. I only stayed because we needed to pay the bills. Finally, I had a mental breakdown on a Friday afternoon after she yelled at me for something trivial about scheduling a meeting without including someone from her team who I didn't know about. I was dealing with a family tragedy and couldn't take it anymore. I told Gary about the situation with Jane and he was sympathetic and not at all surprised considering half her team quit. He immediately offered to move me to a different team under him. I was thrilled. Well, turns out going to the new team didn't help. Jane continued to order me around from afar. When I ignored her emails, she came to my desk one day and started loudly talking about how I am not qualified for this role. Gary overheard and finally told her off, but the verbal abuse did not stop. After 2 months there, I abruptly wrote my resignation letter and stapled the list of Jane's offensive comments and ceased everyone. Gary offered a bunch of accommodations to try to keep me, but seeing how she was still provoking from afar, I said the only way for me to stay would be for her to go and he did not have authority to let her go. Her manager was in a different country and despite several HR complaints from at least 5 people, nothing was done. So I left, loudly and without shame, telling everyone exactly why I was leaving. Times were very bad for 3 months. There were nights we would eat slices of bread just so we could pay the mortgage and emergency expenses from a health crisis and a funeral. Even after he found a job, we were still catching up on bills and still are. I spent months applying to 5 to 10 roles per day, sometimes over 20. Last month, I saw a public memo about a big shot from a former company joining the company I just left. I used to work with this guy closely and texted him a congrats, let me know if you need any insights on the new place. We had a quick call where I told him some ins and outs where I thought they could innovate. After this call, he asked me to join the team as his chief of staff. I accepted. Imagine Jane's shock when we had our first all-hands call. All the VPs and above were asked to welcome the new Big Shot in a giant conference room. In Big Shot's speech, he breezed over that I'll be his chief of staff, along with a few key names. I now sat 2 levels above Jane and apparently, within the 3 months I was not there, the other half of her team turned over. Every single person left. Gary was excited for me and said all nice things. However, Jane took the classless route and sent Big Shot an email about how I'm an unqualified idiot, that I used to work for her, how I tried to get her fired, and that she suspects I lied to get ahead. She didn't even try to be fake nice. Big Shot forwarded me her email and asked what this was about. I was so nervous and excited. Little did Jane know I was a director at Big Shot's competitor company, and was already a level above her, so 2 levels isn't a big leap, and I worked with him for 5 years. I had an hour call with Big Shot and told him she was bad for the company culture, and was a nasty person in general. But the evidence he needed was Gary confirming that her whole team has turned over my prior resignation letter which was still sitting on my desktop when I logged in upon return, and a few other nasty emails she sent her recent staff, which they were happy to share with us. Big Shot fired Jane on Friday.
I applaud your efforts, OP, and I'm glad about how everything turned out. However, I am genuinely disgusted by how difficult it is to get rid of people that are well known to be assholes, especially if the said asshole is the reason why decent and even really good employees are getting fired for dumb reasons. Come on, companies, you have to do better than this. Viewer support is the best way for me to remain independent and continue bringing you these daily videos, which will always be here on my channels for you to watch absolutely free. So please consider subscribing to me on Rumble and on YouTube. Both will be linked in the description box down below. Thanks for listening, everyone. If you even somewhat enjoyed today's story, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, and if you really like it, consider subscribing to PattSun to never miss a future upload. Stay strong.